and conversation all about the Toon world. I'm so excited to see each and every one of you. Today, we've got a really great episode. We are talking to the author of Let's Play. She's joining us in just a minute, and we're going to get your questions answered while we are on air. But first, we're going to talk about a little Toon world breaking news, and we've got some fun things we want to shout out today as we're jumping into our conversation. So in breaking Toon world news, we've got a couple of announcements that just recently came out in the last couple of days. The Kiss Bet has announced that they are premiering their next season a little bit later than they had thought. In fact, if you guys watched our last episode, we hung out with Ingrid Ochoa last week, and we now can announce that it is coming back on June 6th, just a little bit later than we thought last week, but we're so excited to see what happens. We also know that Freakin' Romance is going to return in July with about 75 to 80 episodes. More details on that coming. Make sure you are following over on social media for more information. And if you are someone who knows all of the latest Toon World gossip, we want to hear from you guys. We are looking for reporters right now. You can come over to toonladies.com/join the team for more information. We're looking for some amazing volunteers to jump in and report for us, create some really cool content, and help us with shouting out the amazing Toon Ladies platform. We would love to hear from you guys, so come on over to toonladies.com/join the team. Now this week we have put out quite a few amazing videos and podcast episodes. You guys do not want to miss out on these because we've got all sorts of really cool things coming up. In fact, this week we are going to be hanging out with Kayla Oliver of the Wolfmen of Wolvershire. She is hanging out on the podcast everywhere podcasts are streaming, on iTunes, on Spotify, all those fun, fabulous platforms. So make sure you head over and subscribe there as well, because we are breaking down all the fun, fabulous things over there. And we've got a lot going on. Wow, the comments are coming in. We cannot wait to hear from you guys. So go ahead and shout out Let's Play. Let us know, which is your favorite ship inside of Let's Play. We're going to be taking your questions in just a couple minutes. So hang on to your questions for right now until we open up for questions so we don't miss them, because we can only see so many in the feed, and we want to hear from you guys at the right time. So right now, give us all the shout outs, all the love, and we will get to your questions in just a little bit. All right. Are you guys ready? We're just about to jump in, but we know because a lot of you are going through lockdown right now, we wanted to give you a little special something extra. So if you are stuck in lockdown right now, we did want to show that we have a couple of free books out for you guys right now. You guys know I'm an author, and I love to show these amazing books to you without making you pay for them. So you can grab some free books from me and some of my amazing author friends right now. You can go over to my website, or you can look these up everywhere books are sold for free right now while you're busy binge reading your Webtoon comics and waiting for your next ones to come back. You can check out these novels as well. All right, guys, are you ready? Let us know how you're doing tonight. Let us know that you are ready to go. Give us your favorite Let's Play ship. We are about to bring on the author of Let's Play. So give a big shout out in the comments to Leeanne Krecic. She is hanging out with us today. Leanne, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
I am so excited to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. We've got some really great questions, and the questions are coming in. We've got lots of team love in the comments, and we are super excited to have each and every one of you here. Before we jump in, can you introduce yourself and your story to us?
I'm Leeanne Krecic. I'm known as Mongie on Webtoons, and I am the creator of the webcomic Let's Play, which is a romance comedy. And it is updated every Tuesday.
Which I love. I am very much obsessed with it. I am definitely a fast passer, which I don't do for anybody else but you.
Oh, well, thank
you.
Love
Love your story.
Thank you very much.
To talk about it today. And speaking of talking about it, I actually want to discuss this week's episode. So for those of you following along with the Let's Play saga, we're going to talk a little bit about this week's episode. So we jump in with Sam in Charles's office. He's kind of flirtatious. He has some things to say, and poor Sam is so incredibly embarrassed. And then this happens, which we all swooned over.
Yes.
We move a little bit forward, and we get a little bit closer, which I love, love, love. Speaking of which, her outfit is amazing here. And we end up jumping back in time just a tiny bit, because Charles, the night before, spent the evening thinking about his not quite official date with Sam, and we get this. So
Yes.
before we move forward, let's talk about this. Tell me what we need to know.
Well, I mean, the episode itself, for me personally, I was very anxious about because there was a lot of definitives in this episode. Because it was a big step forward. Because you can have a bunch of different stuff that you can hint towards as much as you want into the episode, but in actual like putting it in stone, I felt like this is one of the first episodes. Well, not one of the first, but like one of those episodes where it's like this is like a commitment on the plot. So for me, this episode it made me very nervous. And I knew that the majority of readers was probably really going to like it for a lot of different reasons, but it was still nerve-wracking for me to write.
I'm sure that was terrifying. I love that you kind of gave us this hint into what Sam was thinking in the previous episode, and then she very much confessed what was going on inside of this episode. But we also got to see Charles's perspective, and he's been an interesting character all along. We're kind of never quite sure where he stands on things. He says one thing, he does another, and he always manages to surprise us. But now we have some very concrete answers, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now we get to move forward. Speaking of moving forward just a little bit, there's one more slide that I want to show from this episode. I want to talk about this one. What do I need to know here? Tell me everything.
So the theme of hearts is very prevalent in the story. We have Sam's hearts. We've seen Charles' hearts, which are frozen. We've seen Marshall's, which have turned black. Etc. So, but every time we've seen Charles's hearts, not only are they frozen, they are encased in basically his wedding ring. So, which acted as a sort of shield. And from the very beginning, when we first saw it, there was a little crack in it. And then the second time we saw it, there was an even bigger and more cracks in it. Well, at the end of the episode, we see that the ring has broken away. The dripping of water suggests that the hearts are starting to thaw. So I think a lot of readers may have forgotten that aspect when we've seen his hearts last. But I think the people who have been paying attention to the story and paying attention to the ship are like, oh my God, I know exactly what that means. So this was one of those things where it was such a commitment with the episode that I was really nervous about. But fortunately, I think the majority of readers figured it out on their own, and then the ones who didn't asked in the comments, and then those readers enjoyed explaining what it was. So there was a lot of, I think, going around that people were enjoying.
Oh, for sure. We've got Sarah and Janelle in the comments saying his blush, which I feel like we really probably should talk about. I am 100% Team Charles, so I'm all about this, but more of this because I like this.
He is a blushy boy. I think for him, the just being that blushing state and that kind of it's not foreign to him because he was like that at one point in time, obviously. But I think he's becoming that side of him again, and he's like kind of forgotten what it's like and maybe how to, having an attractive woman flirting with him and stuff is not that unfamiliar, but the fact that it's actually getting to him in some regard to a point where he kind of blushes about it, that is foreign to him. And I think in some ways that's actually pretty scary to him.
I'm sure it's terrifying, especially since he does have those walls up, and we have kind of seen him interact with some other females within the story as well. And it's very much a different type of conversation when it comes to that.
Correct. We've seen him just chat with Eva, with Miss Rosewood, with Monica very briefly. But you can tell his behavior with these women is definitely distant. It's professional, or it's maybe it's a bit harsh in Eva's case, but Eva is her own person and her personality, and she can be very harsh. But when he talks to Sam, he definitely, I wouldn't say he puts on kid gloves because that's not accurate at all, because he didn't treat her like a child, but he definitely treats her very delicately. And I think that there is this innocence and naivete to her that he really respects, and he feels like he needs to cherish it because she is pure in that regard, and he wants her to keep that part of her. So
I'm watching everyone swoon in the comments. This is Oh gosh, guys, if you are on the Charles ship with me, please let me know. Let's have a conversation after the episode.
I'm gonna explode. That's gonna explode.
Yes. All right. So I want to jump in. I want to have a conversation about what you were doing inside of the comic. I'm really excited to see where you are taking this and some of the backstory that you're starting to reveal to us a little bit at a time, where we just want to know it all. And I love the fact that as you are creating this, you actually tend to break that fourth wall. So you make references to yourself inside of this story specifically, and most recently, I think we saw it when Charles and Sam were on their not official date, and you did not draw all the characters in the background. So tell me why you decide to go forth and break that wall.
Well, I mean, for me, like, I love fourth wall breaking humor, and I love putting it in my comic. And in terms of like the romance and the comedy, and like my comic has been compared to a shonen or not shonen, shoujo, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but I like to take those tropes that those comics and manga and anime have like really just kind of beaten the dead horse on proverbially. And I like to point a finger and be like, that's pretty funny. If you read that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I love to like, kind of take a step back and look at the readers, and so we kind of all just nod, wink, and then we just move on. That's a lot of what my fourth wall breaking is for, and I just love that meta humor personally.
I'm a big fan of it. I know that I have conversations with a lot of your fans. We're all very big fans of that. So moving forward, as you are creating your story, and this kind of goes with what we're going to be chatting about today, I know that a lot of people have to figure out where they stand as they are writing their stories. So I need to know, are you a pantser, a plotter, or a plantser? And for those of you who are brand new and don't know what those words are, because I know they're big lit words, in the literary world, a pantser is someone who kind of flies by the seat of their pants. They are figuring it out as they go and just making it up on the fly. A plotter is someone who knows every single step and figures it out in detail before they ever jump into their writing. And then a plantser is right in between. They know some of those big stepping stones, but they figure out how to get there as they go. So Leanne, which one are you?
So I plot and I plant. I have the overall main story plotted, and then plant things along the way. And I've said it before on Discord, and I plant seeds all the time. Some grow immediately, others take time to germinate. Like I made a reference to, wait, is that Fast Pass? Never mind. I mean, there's things that I have hinted towards and have brought up, 60 episodes later or even a year later. And it's like, oh, I remember when this happened in episode 12 and this, that sort of reference. But at the same time, I also know before I even started working on it, I knew the start, the end, and a lot of the key points in the middle. So I just work as I go along.
I love it. I love it. And that actually brings me to my next question, because I want to talk about, I know they're a little tall. Sorry. Here, we can shift this. There we go. We got all sorts of fun overlays over here. I do want to talk about your foreshadowing, because I am a novelist. So I write all of these fun books behind me. And I love foreshadowing inside of my books. And I know for me as an author, I write an entire novel, and then I go back and I make sure all of my foreshadowing is correct, that I've got everything where I need to be. And sometimes I create things at the end of my story. I have to go back and foreshadow them early. But you don't get to do that as someone who's writing episodic fiction, because you have to create every single week. Correct. So you know a lot of your main bullet points here.
Yes.
So I want to talk about your foreshadowing. Do you have all that planned out in advance? Is that something you kind of figure out along the way? Or do you just kind of drop things in there and then work them in later on because you feel like it?
Yes. I have a lot of stuff with the foreshadowing. I think one of my biggest fears as a writer is that there will be a key event in the story and people will be like, where did that come from? Like there was no indication that the story was going to move that way. So I try to definitely apply foreshadowing in my story. For instance, and usually I start extremely subtle as foreshadowing, which is usually visual indication. And then I might actually write it in dialogue or in the story in terms of like making it obvious to the reader. For instance, when Link was and Sam got back from the dog park, and they were in her apartment talking, and he went in and looked like he was going to kiss her and said kissed her forehead, and he left. You saw him outside of her apartment before the door closed, and he had a sweat drop, and you can tell he looked uneasy. And a lot of people, I think, either chose to ignore it or they saw it and didn't understand what it meant. And some other people were like, whoa. Like, I don't think he was really cool with what happened because he didn't look all that comfortable. And then as the story went on, I kept developing, well, maybe it's Link really didn't feel, like once he was put in the situation, he was like, I went to go kiss her and it felt wrong. So and I don't think that we found out that for like with 100% certainty that was the actual story plot point until like 40 episodes later. So I had built on that over the course of a long period of time. Now, the downside to that is some people can get forgetful. Like some readers don't even remember what happened in the previous episode.
That's true.
So when it comes to like 40 episodes again, they're like, well, what happened? I don't understand. So I definitely love to reward readers to remember those key points and pick up on foreshadowing. So when it does happen, they're like, I noticed this. I picked this up. And some people who reread notice that foreshadowing in hindsight, and they're like, oh, now I totally spotted that. So
I feel like it's an entirely different kind of reading when you go back and reread and you know the end, so you can see where those little dots start connecting together, maybe in a way that you didn't see as you were reading it through the first time.
Right. Well, I read a ton. Well, I don't read. I watch a ton of murder mysteries, so I'm always looking for foreshadowing. So maybe that's part of why my story is the way it is, and the way I include foreshadowing is because I'm just used to storytelling in that manner. So that might be part of it.
See, I knew we were going to be friends. We need to talk murder mysteries later. This is going to be fun.
Girl.
That's an entirely new episode, guys.
I know.
Like Leanne to come back and talk murder mysteries, let me know in the comments because I might be able to make that happen.
Yeah, maybe.
Just saying, guys, could be fun. Speaking of which, we would love for you guys to actually start bringing your friends to the party. We are here hanging out with you every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we want you to bring your friends to come hang out as we talk to all of these amazing webcomic artists and authors, people inside of the Toon world. So to let everybody know that you are here hanging out with us, you are one of the few special elite people who are on air with us right now. We actually want you to be sharing this on social media. So in just a second, Leanne and I are going to look at the camera, we're going to smile, and I want you to either screen grab on your phone, or I want you to hold your phone up to your computer and take a picture and get this out on social media, and make sure you tag both of us so that we can shout you out later on as well. So are you guys ready? We're going to smile, and we're going to do 3 seconds. So get your phones ready. Are you ready? Let's do this. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys, that was your chance. Make sure you tag us on social media. We would love to hear from you guys and let us know that you're enjoying today's episode. And I want to jump in and switch the conversation just a tiny bit. We talked a little bit about your storyline. We're going to talk more about your characters in a minute. I see all the great questions are coming in, guys. We're going to get to those in just a minute. But I want to talk a little bit, because I know in advance, a lot of questions came in about how you actually create your art. So just 10-second overview. Are you using Photoshop? Are you using an editing tablet? What are you doing? And then what does your process look like?
I use a software called Clip Studio Paint, and then I use that on a Wacom Cintiq 27, and I then finalize everything in Photoshop, which allows me to put it in that vertical scrolling format, which Clip Studio is getting better about, but they still don't have very good support for very long images. So, I use a tab mate to help. I also have various peripherals, use a glove to draw, and all that great stuff.
Nice. Good to know. Good to know. All right. So if you've got questions about the art, go ahead and let us know. We are going to get to those in just a second. I do want to touch a little bit on something that I keep seeing come up in the comments. And people want to know a little bit more about lust. They want to know about depression. So what do we need to know when it comes to this?
So lust and depression are what I call emoticons. And they're different personifications of emotional states. And or various obstacles like confrontation. And so they are a visual representation to help readers pick up on you know, inner conflict. And also it allows me to put it in a visual format where we could just kind of sit back and laugh at it, or it can have a more impact representation. Like anxiety would be a good example. For me personally, I feel like when I am like anxiety to me is almost like not me, it's something else. So it's almost like it's a third party that wreaks havoc on me. So I don't think that I am a person that's riddled with anxiety. I just think that anxiety sometimes bothers me. So seeing it as this personification or this outside of the body influence allows you to step back and say, I'm not the one who has the problem. I have a problem that I need to learn to deal with and face. And one of the nice things, which I did not even remotely foresee with Emoticons, is that I've been contacted by multiple people, mostly parents, who are thankful for me including them in my comic because it allows their children or young readers who struggle with things like autism or Asperger's to pick up on cues that they weren't able to before. So they're like, oh, so she's dealing with anxiety right now. So they did not recognize that how I was drawing her face, they didn't understand the visual cues that a face emotes when they're anxious, but when they actually literally have a personification of anxiety standing next to them, they can say, she's anxious. I get it. So that was a really cool result that I wasn't expecting.
I feel like it's a really good learning tool. I used to be a teacher, so I'm all about that. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. Now, I know you're also a real life gamer. You've done programming, you've done all these fun, fabulous things, which you then wrote into your stories. So how did that actually affect what you were writing?
Well, a lot of it really affected Sam's character a lot because they always say, write what you know. And with Sam being a developer, in terms of like a programmer at her father's office and also a developer as an indie game developer, I've never built indie games, but it's all programming. So it's kind of all in the same wheelhouse. And so when I talk about different technologies and things she would have to know, that really, like, my experience really helped writing in her character. For instance, when she's making Evermake and she's trying to troubleshoot it on the bus and she realizes, oh, I forgot to escape tick marks in my code, which is causing this error. I can't even tell you how many times I've done that myself. So as a programmer. Now, one of the things I find really interesting is that when I am trying to write this into the comic, I will see like feedback. And this also goes into gaming as well. I'll see feedback where people will say, I don't think the creator is a gamer because this gaming knowledge is very rudimentary. Or I think this creator needs to consult with somebody who's really a programmer. It's like, I don't want to lose readers in the weeds of gaming terminology and programming terminology because this isn't a programming comic. It's a comic with gaming. I don't want to alienate readers with inundating them with useless facts that's not going to attribute to the story remotely. So I do make it more simplified for more people to follow along.
Which I think is really important to do. And as an author, that's something I have to do in my stories as well. So I fully support this. And guys, we would love to hear your comments down below. In fact, we're about to get into our fan questions. So if you're joining us live, we want to hear from you. Jump into my comments right now and drop your questions because in just a minute, we're getting into your questions. And if you happen to be on our replay, we would still love to hear from you. Go ahead and drop those questions and comments and we will be monitoring them over the next couple of days and weeks. We might just be able to get Leanne to answer some extra bonuses over on Instagram stories. So make sure you hit us up and let us know what questions you have. And while you're at it, we need you to hit the subscribe and notification bell because we are here every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern answering your questions and giving you real-time access to the authors, the artists, the creators, and the Toon World people that you know and love. In fact, we've got quite the lineup happening over the next couple of weeks. I am super excited because we are hanging out with cosplayers, We have the artist and author of Blood Ink. We have Canvas authors coming. We've got the authors of The Shadow Prophet coming, and there's even more coming in the following months that I can't tell you about yet. But dang, is it going to be fun. So make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell because we're dropping brand new videos twice a week, breaking news as it happens, and we are going live with our talk show every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss out on all the fun. All right, guys. Let's dive into these questions. Let me see. I'm going to start going through them. We've had some amazing people who are sending us in questions, and I am just going through all of these. Bowser is the best boy in the world. Yes, he is.
Agreed.
And I had a question pop up. Let me pull these up real quick. We had a question about if you created Bowser as an animal that you know. Was it inspired by a personal dog? Is that something that has happened?
So Bowser is roughly a combination of my cat Butler and my dog Baron put together. Butler is a 3-year-old tuxedo cat, and Baron is a 12-year-old Saint Bernard mix. And so they are breed-wise and species obviously very different, but just that loyalty that my dog Baron has, and just that eagerness to please and defend me and protect me, and just, you know, he's more of a cuddle boy than my cat is. And then my cat, who is ornery and very expressive, and just like that, the times when Bowser gives Marshall the stink eye, that's very much my cat Butler. So so it's just kind of a combination of two pets that I have.
I love it. So we did have questions come in early, and they would like to know, how do you go about pacing your episodes to determine how much you are putting in each episode to balance what you're doing within the story without overdoing it? Because your balance is perfection inside of your story. So what do you got for us?
Well, I always try to have one significant event in every episode, whether it's a character reveal or a story movement point. Sometimes those reveals can be very subtle. And then once you put it all, like, you know, all that foreshadowing and all the seeds and stuff, when you put it all in place, it could be like, wow, that's a big event. But like the Fast Pass episode I'm working on right now, it's like we're following a day in Charles's life, and we're seeing his thoughts and different interactions he has. And that alone is a huge reveal, because we've only ever seen his thoughts like once. And that's when he realized, like, I shouldn't tease her, but it's just too much fun. So I think it's important to reveal important things about either your character or your story. And I try to do that at least once every episode.
I, for one, am so excited for your next Fast Pass episode. I know you like to put sneak peeks up on your social media.
Yes.
And I have my theories. So I'm very excited for this next one. It's going to be fun. We'll talk about it off air.
All right.
We are giving lots of love to you in the questions and comments, and they want to know, are we going to see more of Charles's backstory?
Yeah, we will. We'll see more and more about Charles's history and his past. And as he opens up more and more about himself, but it is, I mean, he's that onion, and you got to peel away the layers, or in this case, you got to let the ice melt. So he is very guarded. And so he feels that if he lets people in on more of his personality and his history, that's just giving them more fuel to hurt him with. So it's going to take time.
For sure. And we're excited to see it peel back. We did get some fun comments. Is it wrong for me to ship Marshall and Sam? We had a full out conversation. She said she was stuck between Charles and Marshall, which I don't think is the worst place to be stuck. What do you think?
Well, I think that Marshall is very complex in his personality. I mean, we've seen that his stage name is Marshall and his name is actually Ben. And I've only ever said this on my Discord, but Marshall he represents the masks of theater. You have the comedy and you have the drama, and Ben is the drama and Marshall's the comedy. So with Marshall, I think that he is very lovable. I always say it's hard to hate him because he's like 80% Labrador. Like he just wants people to love him, and he just loves everybody. And, as long as everybody's happy and healthy, he's great, and so I can easily see people saying that they want someone like Sam to be in a relationship with her or with him. And I don't think that's unreasonable at all. I mean, I love Monica as a character. And there are, we joke about it on Discord, like, what if it's Monica, Marshall, and Sam, and just stuff like that. And I think that Marshall has his own problems, but I also think he has a tremendously good heart. And I think he would, in his own way, be good for Sam.
I agree. I am a big fan of Monica and Marshall. I feel like Monica is fantastic, but she's very good at finding where people need her to be. So she's very good at taking care of Marshall. She's very good at taking care of Sam. We're extremely excited that she's helping guide Sam with the whole Charles thing.
Yep.
So shout out to Monica. If you guys are fans of Monica, please let us know in the comments below. We're going to talk about it after air. Also, we got some love for Angela as well. Such a boss.
Yeah, Angela is, I've said it before, and that is, we talked about Emoticons earlier and about the different personalities. Well, these characters are like my personalities. Like Sam is my insecurity, Monica is my confidence and sexual desire or whatever. And Angela would be my fiery side, like my temper. And so for her, like, I think if I was a fan of Let's Play, I think Angela would probably be my favorite character behind Monica.
Ooh, interesting. I love
the strong female character who doesn't shy away from struggle. She like charges for it, and I think that I would want her story probably to be shown more than I show it in the comic, which I'm going to highlight her story more coming up in the next couple of weeks. But she just has a lot of personality that I really like personally.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that because I feel like I want to see a little bit more of Link and Angela. We got a comment that's actually a couple of different questions. We did talk about Bowser a little bit, but people want to know, who is your favorite character to draw?
It's definitely Bowser. For one, because he's easy. I mean, it's easy anatomy. He's not complicated at all. And also, I love his expressions. Like, I can really push his expressions to a cartoony level without it looking really weird. And then I would say probably after Bowser would be... Wow, that changes actually. If outside of Bowser, like one month I could love drawing Sam, and the next one I like drawing Charles, and so. But Bowser, every time I draw him, I'm like, yes, I love drawing this little pudge ball. So
he's adorable. Can we just talk about his doll? I just love his doll so much. His little highlight episode. I was a big fan of that. Are we gonna get more highlight episodes for Bowser?
I would love to, but I don't know if I can. So that's a higher power has influence over that. So, but I love. Now, I will say it's not Princess Peach, despite any similarities. It's Princess Plum. She's Princess Plum, and so I actually. So in our Kickstarter, my Volume 1 Kickstarter, we offered a Bowser plushie. Well, in the second one, we're no promises, but what we're hoping is to offer a puppy Bowser plushie and a Princess Plum plushie to go with it. So I'm like, please let that happen. Because I want it. I want to make it mine.
That's so cute. I love it. I love it. That's adorable. We do want to know, are you going to be creating more comics after Let's Play?
Yep. I'm already working on a pilot for another one. So for a summer project.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh. Well, that's fun when we get off air. I like this. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah. I definitely have other titles I have probably 6 other titles that I could pick up tomorrow if I had to.
Girl, you're like me. I write books in 9 days, and I'm like, gotta get to the next one. Gotta get to the next one.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm one of those weird fast writers, but
You're like one of those people like, just get it out of me. And then you write
no.
it and birth it.
It just has to, yeah. And full novels in 9 days. It's super fun. It makes you extremely tired, but it's nice to get them out in the world. I like it. We did have a question over on Instagram. How many seasons is Let's Play going to have?
That's kind of hard to say, because the reason why season 1 ended when it did was because I had to renegotiate my contract with Webtoons. So there was a very, very small chance that Let's Play wouldn't have been on Webtoon after season 1. So we wanted to like wrap it up and just be like, here we go. Here it is with a nice little bow. I think there's some things I would have rather liked to there are things that I wanted to evolve a bit more before that season was over, but I moved it into season 2. So season 1, I think, ended up being a year and 4 months long, I think. But I can see season 2 being 2 years long or 3 or whatever. But so I can't really say how many seasons it's going to be. It also depends on how much I want to develop other things and show and maybe cut some stuff out. So I can see it going for like easily another 3 years.
Hey, I like that. That's a good choice. I like that choice. I'm all for more story. Sounds fantastic to me. We did get quite a few questions on how you created Sam, if you modeled her after anyone, how did you come up with the design for her? What was your inspiration behind that?
Well, Sam's health, I based it off of a late friend of mine who was 19 when she passed away from from respiratory related issues. And her anxiety is somewhat similar to the anxiety I had when I was a lot younger. Mine manifested in a different way, but, and then her look, I intentionally tried to give her qualities that were plain. So I didn't give her exceptional hair color. I didn't give her ridiculously long, gratuitous amounts of eyelash. I gave her big nerdy glasses, which have kind of switched to the other realm, which just kind of makes her cute at this point. And the only thing I really did in terms of her looks that made her exceptional was I gave her predominant lips and curvy, which, I love this kind of aspect of this ugly duckling character who hides under all these layers and can't see herself. I mean, she looks in a mirror and she sees a child. So, and that is kind of similar to myself. Like, I didn't really feel like a woman until like I was 27 when I looked in a mirror, because I just felt like a girl trying to play dress up, like I'm trying to be an adult sort of thing. So that is roughly based on me, like different life experiences that I've had. But Sam and I are not, we're very different in lots of ways. And I think that's one of my biggest beefs about being a romance writer, or maybe just a comic creator in general as a woman. And that is, I get asked so often, is Sam a self-insert of you? And I'm like, do guys get asked this question? Like, does Dan Brown get asked if Langdon is him? Like, is that exclusively for female? Like, I don't. So, but Sam is not me, and I am not Sam at all.
I get asked that question a lot. That's an interesting idea. Is it just us because we're female, or does everybody get asked that? I would actually like to know the answer to that.
It seems to be like a wishful thinking, I guess people assume. And I've seen a lot of people, like I've done work for Markiplier, from artwork for him. And I do watch Markiplier, but I would not consider myself a fangirl. And I often get asked or I see people point out, like my comic first came out, people are like, I feel like I'm reading a self-insert, wishful thinking fanfic of this creator and Markiplier. And I'm like, I've been married for like 13 years and I'm just writing a story. Like, it doesn't have to be me specifically. I'm trying to write something that other people can enjoy. And if it is easy to self-insert with Sam, that's great, because what's wrong with escaping for once a week for 5-10 minutes when you're reading an episode? So, and that was another reason why I wanted to make her plain, was I wanted to make her easy to be relating to. So,
which I love it. And I love her recent fashion as well. Shout out if you guys are loving Sam's recent fashion, and if you completely identify with all of the maybe not quite so fancy feelings that sometimes Sam goes through.
Mm-hmm.
We do want to know, are there going to be any time skips coming up in Let's Play?
There will be. Nothing like substantial, like 10 years or anything like that. I mean, there might be at the very end of the comic be a time skip.
Bugs.
Yeah, but I don't know how much. I know that when I was picked up as a featured creator, I was talking to my editor and I said, I would really love to continue the story after a pairing is established with Sam. And they were like, well, usually it's like the peak of the story is them coming together, and then the evolution of the story is kind of going down the hill. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just wrap it up then. It is like a time skip. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's see. We do have lots and lots of questions coming in, and they're jumping on me very quickly. Well,
I'm just listening to my cat just like go crazy on the other side.
I can hear your kitty.
He's like, why are you shutting me out?
Why? No, I understand. I've got 3 dogs. They are in another room because they would be like that as well.
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite webtoon to read?
Wow. Favorite?
Top 3, maybe.
Top 3 would probably be My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, Sub-Zero, and Shen Blue Chair.
Nice.
And I am one of the least favorite types of readers for webtoons that they like, that the staff like, in that I'm a binge reader. And so I'll read like 30 episodes in a setting, and then I'll put it on pause, and then I'll go back and read another 30, so I don't keep coming back to the same comic every week. And those are the 3 comics that I do. And because it's just easy to read them very quickly, especially My Giant Nerd Boyfriend and Blue Chair. So, and Sub-Zero, I've met a lot of creators, and I've met June Purr, and she's really cool. And I really like her art, and I'm really curious just because I remember when she was in Canvas. So I'm like kind of following her comic because I'm really curious to just watch that evolution of her series. And that is definitely one of those, like, I knew her when sort of things.
I love her art. It's so glowy and pretty too.
Yeah, it's very painterly, and I often look at it, I'm like, I wish I could do something like that. It's like I don't have time to paint. So she's a miracle worker. How she fits it, like Quimchi. It's like how long her comics are each episode. I'm like, I contacted her shortly after being featured, and I'm like, what is the name of the devil you signed your soul away to get that many episodes? And is there room on that contract for my name?
That's so funny. I love it. Oh goodness. So they want to know if you're more of a cat person or a dog person. I know you've got one of each, so.
Wow. I would probably say cat person because, and I can say that because my dog's deaf now. Because I love dogs, but I would say I'm more of a cat person because I could see myself being 60 years old with 14 cats at my house. I can't see myself being that old with 14 dogs. And so there's just qualities and personalities about cats that I enjoy a bit more than dogs. But, they're very different animals, and I love both of mine very, very much, but I definitely think I'm more of a cat person.
Good to know. That is good to know. All right, we are at the point in our conversation where we actually have a little something fun to do. Every single week, we are inviting one special fan who gets to hang out with us on the inside of Toon Ladies to come and ask some questions. Today, we are hanging out with one of the Toon Ladies reporters, TM Sharkey. She is a cosplayer, and she's jumping in to ask a question. TM, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, Mungie. So, I love your comic. I love all the secret hidden messages and everything. I'm curious. Marshall played Ruminate, and I always want to say Rami Cube. I don't know why. Ruminate. I have no idea why.
All right.
Marshall always wants to play, or he played it one way, and Charles played it a different way. So I'm wondering if later down the line, will that tie into the story?
Yeah, it will actually. It does tie into the story. So talk about planting seeds. I have put, even on my social media, I have shared references to Ruminate, photos, stuff like that. Very hidden meanings of things, very, very subtle. I have yet to see anybody pick up on some of those things. And one of them I shared last week, and people are like, "Oh, but they didn't mention at all anything about the reference in Ruminate." So yeah, it does play into the story.
Oh, okay. Everyone goes now and looks right after this.
Just cloud of dust where they were.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
My other question is, I know you talked a little bit about it before, but one thing that draws me to your comic, besides the attractive characters, is the different emotions and the mental health that you tie in and everything. How did you come up with their design, and why did you feel to tie that in? I mean, I love it because I think it makes your comic very relatable to everyone, because everyone, as you said earlier, everyone deals with anxiety, everyone deals with depression and all that. And I just want to know how you design those characters and why you decided to tie that into this comic.
Well, the way I designed them, I wanted them to be simple enough that I could easily modify their look to express, make them humanoid, in that when they're very emaciated and skinny, like Sam's self-confidence, you can pick up that's what you like. You just look at it and you're like, I totally understand. Whereas if I made them some sort of amalgamation, some animalistic whatever, it's very difficult to pick up on those cues, those visual cues. I think that to say that I was not even remotely influenced by Shen on Blue Chair with how he draws life and stuff, I didn't read Blue Chair actively before I did Let's Play, so I probably saw it on social media or Reddit or whatever, and other manifestations of these things. And so that was probably just a whole bunch of sources that influenced why I decided to draw them the way I did. And then the reason why I included them in terms of like mental health is I'm just tired of like skirting around the issue. And I think a lot of creators are very scared to include those things because it can be a very touchy subject. I will say that I have a therapist that I consult with. So if there's anything that's remotely advice or visual that could be triggering, that could cause people to go off whatever deep end, I do consult with her, and I say, is this something I need to change, or should I include this or not? And so, and she's great. So there is some professional consultation. Obviously, she can't say this is a legit therapy session or whatever, but but I don't want to just dive into this without any consideration for like a tried and true proven method. So but it's definitely like, I'm tired of skirting around mental health. I'm just going to put it in there. And I know personally from my own gaming experiences that when I'm in a bad place mentally, gaming helps. And since this is a heavily gaming influenced comic, mental health could very easily go side and side.
Well, I definitely see that in those characters. I mean, I think it's confrontation with the sharp teeth and depression, the colors. I definitely, and lust. I love when she stands on that thing, here I am.
Hello, girls.
Yeah. Woo, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
fabulous.
Yeah. That's awesome, though. I love that. I think it's great. I think it's relatable. And I think all of your readers, I think it makes them comfortable while reading your comic, that they connect even more with your characters. So thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for asking.
All right.
So much for joining us, TM. We will see you again soon.
Okay, see you.
And if you are a fan of coming out and talking to our authors and artists face to face, just like this, you can actually come join us and hang out with us over at toonladies.com/join the team. We're letting our reporters have priority to come and meet our amazing authors, our amazing artists behind the scenes exclusively, but you can still hang out with us while we are on air. In the questions, in the comments, we would love to keep hearing from you. And I was actually taking a look at some of those questions and comments that came in while TM was chatting with you. And I noticed someone said you're a cat person and compared Charles to a cat. So I just wanted to shout that one out. Charles may or may not have those cat.
That is very accurate. He is definitely a cat personality.
Marie Jane is hanging out with us and says, how long does it usually take you to create a single episode?
Anywhere between 50 to 80 hours. It's almost always over 40. It's pretty rarely less than or less than 40 hours. I think I clock in around 55 usually, I think. It's been a while since I checked the average, but about that many hours.
Wow, that's crazy. Alexis wrote in, she would like to know, is there anything that you would go back and change in previous episodes?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely with art, like I was still like drawing an illustration is one thing. Drawing a story in different panels. Like when I first started, I really struggled with that really, really badly. And so I don't even think about it. Like I just do it. But like composing the panels was a struggle. I think I would do some of that stuff differently. Story-wise, I think I probably would have expanded on some things a bit more. Like I would love to have included Umid more and D, but when you're at crunch time and you're running out of hours before your deadline, you got to cut it back to the most essential plot points. And so I had to exclude some of those characters. So if I could go back in time, I would try to flush that out a bit better. So, but yeah.
Fantastic. We did get a question come in. Are you more drawn to those plot-driven stories, or do you kind of lean into more that those are more visual or more character-driven? For you, which one's the real draw?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I would say more character-driven. I have to have a good, juicy plot when I read at least a novel. Like if I go buy a novel, if it's just one book in a series, I almost always turn it down unless it's like 800 pages. And even then I'm like, if there's not a third book to this. But then you have writers like Tolkien who has Lord of the Rings, which is an amazing series and has spun off so much amazing fantasy worlds, creativity and everything. I can't read his books because I can't stand his writing style. And like he develops he speaks so much about the environment and then so little about the characters. And I'm like, I don't care about the caves. I want to know about the characters. And so I think that kind of tells me what kind of stories I want to know about the characters. And I almost always love supporting characters more than I do the main. So if it doesn't have interesting supporting characters, then I probably won't be that interested in the story.
I love a good side character. We are getting quite a bit of love for some of your side characters in the comments as well. And guys, we are coming to the top of our hour. So if you've got any last minute questions, now is the time to send those in. We are going to hang out for just a couple more minutes. And we would love to get your questions answered. So go ahead and drop those down below so we can get those answered for you. How far in advance do you create your episodes?
Well, unfortunately, originally it was 3 weeks, but since life happens, it's now I work on an episode each week. So I work on it the week. It's due that following Monday. So after I came off my break, I was 3 weeks ahead. But again, like I said, stuff happens and you lose track of time and chaos ensues, holidays happen, illness occurs, injuries, whatever. And then that time just keeps getting smaller and smaller. And now it's per every week.
And I know recently you actually injured your wrist. How are you doing now?
I'm okay. It's a situation of it's now to the point where it's just going to take physical therapy and injections and stuff to fix it. Like I'm healing, but it's like a nerve thing. So at that point, and the current state of affairs, it's a low priority. So I am not even going to call my doctor until things have calmed down. So I can live. It's just uncomfortable.
I understand. Wrist injuries are not fun at all, but we're glad that you are able to kind of move forward with what you're doing, and we hope the rest of it heals pretty dang quickly. Red Dragoness says, I love your references to games. Do you have a favorite game in real life? And is Ruminate based on a certain game or maybe even a few?
My favorite game of all time is Colonization, which was created by Sid Meier's in like 96, I think. That was the first game that got me into computerized gaming and PC gaming. And I have played that game over. It's still on my laptop, actually. And I just love those simulation games. And so that is easily one of my favorites. If not that, then Theme Hospital, which is also from like 2001, I think. And Ruminate is, if I said it was based on anything or similar to anything, I would say it's similar to King's Quest, which was created by Barbara, I don't remember her last name, but it was actually created by a woman back in the early 90s, I think. So just the fact that you have this woman who is creating games, like one of the first game creators, and then you have Sam, who's also a woman trying to create games and stuff. I just wanted that tie-in, and it's a kind of a mystery / exploration game. It's just, I love those types of games, and I loved them as a kid. So that, if anything is based on, it'd be that.
Love it. I love it. I keep seeing this question come up a lot. For the last week, I have been getting this question. And so without spoilers, without giving anything away, people want to know, do you know who Sam is going to end up with? Just yes or no?
I'm trying to think of a clever way to answer that question. I will say that it depends.
That is a good answer.
It depends on the readers. And I don't mean from a voting standpoint. Like, I already know how I want to end the story.
Okay.
But how the story ends, it depends on the readers.
Well, that's interesting, guys. Give us your theories down below on that one. I feel like we could play with that one for another year. All right, guys, let us know. Let us know down below. I'm getting a lot. Okay. All right. One more, guys. Two more. Oh, I was going to wrap it up, but we got questions. So people want to know, I keep seeing this one. Is Bowser going to get a love interest?
He has Princess Plum, so he already has one.
There we go. People also want to know about Vicky, because it seems like some other people are pairing up at this point. Is our girl gonna get some attention too?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Vicky is gonna have an SO, a significant other. So that is another one that I will be prepared for those seeds to start getting planted if they haven't already. So
all of a sudden, I have so many theories. Okay. I am interested in this. All right, guys. All right. I'm seeing comments like mind blown. People want to know if it's an open ending. Interesting, guys. Guys, keep hitting us up with those theories. We would love to hear it. We're actually going to have conversations. You guys did not know, over on the Toon Ladies platform, we are doing all sorts of fun, fabulous things, and we actually have daily conversations with you guys. So 15 minutes after some of our all-time favorite webcomics drop, we are starting DM chats over on Instagram stories. You can actually hit us up over at Toon Ladies on Instagram, because every single evening we dive in and have conversations with the people who just read those episodes. Now, this is not for Fast Pass, but it is for people who are reading the normal episodes that do come out every single week. We're talking for just a couple of minutes with people who just read the episodes on theories, on what just happened, and on those OMG moments. So come over and hit us up over on social media so that you don't miss out on all of the fun. All right, guys, now is the time. We are going to wrap this baby up. So send all of your love to Leanne in the comments right now, and thank her for being here with us. Leanne, I do need to know, where can everybody find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter with MongrelMarie, and which is MongrelMarie. And same on Instagram and Facebook. So that's it right there. That hashtag or that sign. Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. And what do we need to know going forward with Let's Play? So what's the number one thing we need to know before we leave you?
I think it's really important that people understand that Let's Play is not a Cupid's arrow. It's not a love at first sight. It's all about the slow burn. And I want to write a story that seems like a genuine love story where you can see why they fell in love, not you're hot, I'm hot, let's fall in love and make a story about that. So it will require patience from readers. And if you're in for that slow burn, then let's go for a ride on that. So
I love it. I think that's the perfect way to end. Leanne, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I truly appreciate you being here. Last thoughts for our readers?
I just thank you guys for reading. I really appreciate it. I couldn't be doing this for my career if it wasn't for you.
Fantastic. Well, we will see you again real soon. And we've got some good news, guys, because if you enjoyed this, we actually have a podcast episode coming up with Leanne in the not too distant future. We are going to be talking about some of the hobbies that she's created with her characters inside of our upcoming podcast episode. We are streaming on all of the podcasting locations. So Spotify, we're on iTunes, all those fun, fabulous places. So make sure you go over and subscribe and don't miss out. Remember, we're talking with some of the amazing other authors and creators in the next couple of weeks as well. And hey, if you have an author or an artist you would like to see on the Toon Ladies talk show or podcast, hit me up right now. Tell me their name and why you want to see them on the show. I'm going to be reaching out to more authors in the next couple of weeks, and I cannot wait to get your favorites on the talk show. But you got to hit us up right now so I know who we're hanging out with. And then make sure you are joining me every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern so that you can meet these amazing authors live right here on YouTube for all of the fun. Next week, we are hanging out with amazing Webtoon cosplayers. We're going to be talking with Kelly Carnes of Trove Costumes. Tori Dunn's going to be here. Sienna Ackerman, who is a real-life mermaid, friends. You do not want to miss this episode. It is going to be so much fun, so make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell. It is going to be a great episode, and then we've got some of your favorite authors and artists coming in the next couple of weeks. You don't want to miss out. Make sure you hit us up at toonladies.com because we've got bonus content over there. There's extra videos, there's polls, there's ways to get involved. We even have an artist-author matchup if you're someone who has the art skills, but maybe not the storytelling skills, and we will match you with award-winning and best-selling authors in the YA world, my friends, my amazing people, and we will create amazing comics with you together. And hit us up at Toon Ladies on all the social media platforms. We cannot wait to hang out with you guys. Remember, daily chats in our Instagram stories DMs. We are going to be doing all sorts of bonus content over there. There's even some live streams hanging out on our Instagram. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We would love to hear from you guys. And again, hit the subscribe and notification bell right here on YouTube because we've got a big, audacious goal of getting 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube and over on Instagram in the first month of our show. We started last week with Ingrid Ochoa of The Kiss Bet. We are here with Leanne of Let's Play today. We've got amazing authors coming up. And when we get to 1,000 subscribers on these platforms, it unlocks bonus features. Guys, I can do some really cool things for you. So make sure you are hitting subscribe and that notification bell and bring your friends to the party. I'm seeing all the love in the comments, and I can't wait to get some of your favorite authors there as well. If you happen to be an author or a Toon person who should be on the show, to toonladies.com/guests for more information. I would love to get you guys on. Until next week, I hope you guys have a fantastic day and stay inspired. Bye-bye.